Hi everyone, welcome to the Grow with Google Mapping Your Career Goals session today. We will take about 40 minutes to go through a bunch of exercises to help you plan your career and to feel successful and that you have the right tools to get you to where you want to get to. We also have time towards the end for you to ask us questions live. I think that's a really important part for us to hear from you and for us to really, get to know a little bit more about what you have top of mind. So be sure to stay tuned for that. But we also have my awesome teammate QM on the chat box. She's there to answer your questions directly there. So you don't want to miss out on that opportunity. Be sure to do a shout out to QM and make sure to get to know her today. And lastly, we also have an opportunity for you to get swag. I'm not going to tell you at what point you'll hear about this, so be sure to stay tuned with us. I'll quickly introduce myself. My name's Jamie. I lead the Connect with Google Asia Pacific program across many different schools across Asia. So it's been about a year now that I've been here. So yeah, it's really great to be here with you all today. Today we also have Maya.
Hi.
And I'll let Maya introduce herself as well.
Hi everybody, I'm Maya. I work with the talent programs team for students. I work in a project which is a part of the scaled engagements that we have. And I'm very excited to be here. This is my first YouTube show that I'm hosting.
I got her to join us.
So I'm really excited. We hope we can give you guys some good resources in the next 40 minutes. So stay tuned.
Yes, so we have a lot in store for us today, which we'll cover right now. But the first thing we do want to call out is the fact that everything is changing every day, and that change is inevitable. And you and I sense that every day, right? Like
right.
one day we're like, I'm so certain about what's going to happen for our programs that are happening, but the other day we don't feel that. Just everything like something happens always. And the point of this session is to help you better navigate that change, whatever happens, right? And to make sure that you get through the goals that you want to get through to get yourself to the future, whatever that future might be.
So can I check with you, is this only for students or is it applicable to everyone? Like how does that work?
That's actually a great point, because a lot of us might think, oh, I already have a job, or I already have an internship planned for this summer,
right.
So this isn't applicable to me. Actually, I would disagree with that completely, because you should always reevaluate where you are, where you're headed.
Yeah, no matter, every day growing.
Yeah, right? Like Maya joined our team
a few months back.
Yeah, a few months back. So it's a good time for her to reevaluate. Okay, I just started at this new job. Like, where am I going? Where do I want to go?
Yeah, absolutely right.
Yeah, so we want you to be able to take away the most from this session, regardless of what phase you're in. So yeah, just be patient with us as we equip you with the tools that you need. So let's talk about what we are actually talking about today. First and foremost, we want you to reflect and identify your existing strengths. This part is so important, and we don't take enough time to do this, right? Sometimes we just go to the actions and we want to be like, okay, my goal is to get this certificate by this time.
Right.
But it actually is really important to evaluate what I'm good at and what I can use to get there.
Yeah, is this something that I want to do? Like, is it a good use of my time, or am I just going through a checklist? You're right.
And do I have values that make me want to be more, passionate about whatever it is? So yeah, that's the first objective that we have. And the second objective is for you to scan the horizon for new skills, perspectives, and opportunities. And this is just where you can map out without any limitations about where you want to go. Right? So that part is also just as exciting as the first. So yeah, just to phrase this more simply, we're going to go through where are you today and where do you want to go? How can you get there? How can we help you get there? As well as the opportunities that you might find at Google and how you might apply to them. All right. Where are you today? And this section is one that I ask that you all take with patience, no judgment, and reflection. And I don't know if you all have joined the imposter syndrome workshop that we had recently, but the natural thing that we tend to do when we evaluate where we are today is to judge. So we ask that this is just simply a scan of where you are today, so that you can better be equipped to move on to, getting you tomorrow and to the other goals you have in mind. This is a tool that we want to begin with for you to be able to map where you are today, the wheel of student life. And again, this is applicable to many ranges of people, so don't feel like that limits you or takes you out of the picture. This wheel has pies of brackets of different areas of your life that you might find. So friends and family, fun, community, different technical skills, as well as a scale that you might see on the X axis from 0 to 10. The point of this exercise is for you to map out how satisfied you are with the investment that you've put into these brackets of life. So for me personally, for friends and family, because I have very special things going on in my life right now, personally, I would say friends and family is very high. They've been very invested in my life lately. I've been catching up with them more regularly. And the point of mapping out these dots is to draw a connecting line so you can see how it ranges across these different areas of your life.
I think we need to take a look at an example and just for this
Yeah.
to make better sense of what you're talking about.
Sure. So here's an example that Maya can quickly walk you through.
So this is one where we work together on it, but it's primarily my wheel. And when you look at it, it's literally all over the place. There is nothing that's reached a 10. And hopefully I've given myself really good points where I've not put myself on a poor for any of them.
Yeah.
But then it's just a reflection of where you are at the moment.
Correct.
Which are the quadrants in which you want to actually make yourself become better, and where are the ones that you're actually quite good at and
Yeah.
acknowledging it, like, oh, this is a stable place, I want to stay here, this is okay, it doesn't need to go beyond a 5 at the point. But it's just to give you a picture, and if you take a snapshot of this like every year and year, it will
Yeah.
just show you how you've changed over time, right?
Yeah.
That's very interesting.
Yeah, and that change is inevitable, like we mentioned earlier. Just know that if you have 10s across the board, we want to know how you have 10s across the board, because obviously
we don't.
we don't, and we are learning of what that means. But obviously the goal isn't to necessarily achieve 10s, but rather to know where you want to achieve 10s, right? And where it's not a priority for you right now. When my friends also ask me about career advice, the first thing I say to them is map out, these brackets and see what is your top 3 today, right? And that might change in the next month, right? So that's what that exercise is for. And you might just reflect about these results afterwards with these questions as a guideline. I would ask that you take a screenshot for those of you who are following along with this exercise. So yeah, the first question you might ask is, where in your life are you satisfied? Like I mentioned, friends and family is top for me right now. As well as you might be asking what might be contributing to the lower scores.
Right.
For example, I might feel like my technical skills haven't been developed over the... Actually, I do feel that way. I haven't developed my technical skills over the past
And that's
year.
okay.
Yeah, and that's totally fine.
That's totally okay.
Yeah.
You don't have to be really good at everything to be happy about it or to be successful, right?
Yeah.
In your role, you just either need to equip yourself the right way.
Correct.
And just identify and know for yourself more than anyone else where your strengths lie. You're right.
Correct. Yeah. So if there is a bracket of, an area that you feel like there's a lower score and you do want to improve, you might ask yourself, what's one area you'd like to focus on improving, right? And then the question that you might ask yourself after is, what's standing in your way of getting there? What is that obstacle that you have to overcome to be able to prioritize or to focus on that skill and to move in that direction? And this one might sometimes be obvious, but sometimes not so much, right? Because sometimes you might just think, oh, it's obvious because I don't have time for that skill. Or you might also limit yourself by saying, but my projects don't allow for me to exercise this skill, right? But this is actually just an opportunity for you to reflect on what's of value to you, right? Another thing that I would probably think about is, why is it an obstacle?
So interesting. I would never think of that. It's an obstacle for me,
Yeah.
It's there in my way.
Yeah, it's in my way, but why is it an obstacle? Is it an obstacle because you've made it an obstacle, or is it an obstacle because you just...
Of time constraints.
Yeah,
It could be
we are all limited by time, right?
Right.
And by change and things of that sort. So yeah, so Maya, if there's a skill that you want to focus on improving on, if you could share that, and if you could also share perhaps an obstacle.
So interesting. You know, when you were walking us through the slide, I was actually thinking about it, and I was trying to see what is it that I would want to work on.
Yeah.
And quite frankly, the first thing that comes to the top of my mind is to learn Python. I didn't learn Python in school, so I never
Okay.
had a chance to pick it up. But I know that many of the scripting that we use right now can be made much faster
Yes.
if you use a little bit of Python. So that's something that I know that will help me extensively if I can ace it.
Yeah.
But given the time that I have right now, I don't make enough time for myself.
Yeah.
And maybe that's one of the things that I feel that if I change would actually open up a huge variety of opportunity for me at work itself. So I mean that would be a very good example of an obstacle that is there right now.
Okay, so
One among the many, though.
one thing that I would love to call out about how Maya thought about this is the fact that this obstacle of not having the time to develop your technical ability to where you want it to be is actually an opportunity, right? The more we reframe our way of perspective on this subject, we are naturally able to also see it as more of an exciting challenge to tackle and an opportunity for us to go after to achieve our goal, right? So yeah, it's really important that Maya continues to think a little bit more about this. Yeah, in that way.
That sounds really good.
Yeah, all right. So not only that, but we also want to talk through about how you can leverage your strengths. So leveraging your strengths meaning that you should be using your strengths in order to get past those obstacles, to get to the goal that you want to get to. In fact, at Google, we use the Gallup Start Strengths Finder model. This is a model that we draw on many occasions. Do you know what your strengths finders are?
Yeah, I do, but not easily, and it took me a while to get there. But apparently, I'm quite good at organizing
Okay.
and being a good lead in that manner. Second is I can be very effective in my communication, which I thought is definitely another
I can
strength of
testify
mine.
to both as
And
your teammate.
quite frankly, I don't remember the third. So that's exactly my next question going to be. Like, do we have to have three? Is it okay to have just two?
Not necessarily. You don't have to have three at all points in time. And this changes too, right?
Yeah, you're right. And I think the best way for me to, if you think about it, is also to find strength is to ask your peers.
Okay. Yeah.
Because they're able to identify the things that you don't particularly think that you're good at.
Yes, yes.
And it's only when in conversation it comes out that, oh, you're actually, that's one of the good things, and you can really do that well.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, that's amazing.
Yeah.
You're talking about that. Like, okay, I guess that's a strength.
Yeah.
So I think it's interesting that you bring that up, and it's such an amazing equation if you think about it. Talent into investment is equal to your strength.
Yeah.
So which means that everyone has some talent, or at least if you don't have enough of that, if you can bring in the investment for it,
Yeah.
you can actually turn it into your strength.
Yeah, so hopefully Maya is able to invest a little bit more into her technical ability that already exists, right? Maybe you choose to invest into it once a week, right? And then that strength will just grow even more naturally over time.
Yeah.
It's there. It's just honing in on the right strengths to get you to the opportunities that you are looking out for.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so that's a little bit about strengths. And now Maya's going to take us through
So,
this.
where do you want to go, and how do we get there? Many a time, so now we've identified our top strengths, we've identified that obstacles can be turned into opportunities. So we know we've reflected on these questions. Now, the second part of it comes down to, now that you've recognized your strength and what your unique skills are, how do you get there? Or where do you want to go with that? How do you effectively map out what you want to do? And for this, as everything that I would love to say, planning becomes quite essential.
Yeah.
You have to have a way to get to any solution, anything that you want. If, let's say, for example, you have a test in 5 days, you know you need to plan out, hey, I need to take out at least this many hours because I don't know this many things, right? So it's all about the planning that we do. And many times when we talk about the things that we're actually doing, there are 3 key factors that come in.
Okay.
People, skills, and the project that you're working on.
Okay.
We'll get into each of them in the meantime, but it is important to do this work and leverage your network around you without falling into analysis paralysis.
Yeah.
I love this because I just literally learned about it today. Analysis paralysis is pretty much like where you get we come into a solution, you find out something, and then you come into a full stop. You don't know
Just
what
like,
to do
huh?
next. Pretty much. So if you look at it, like over time, you'll be able to identify where is it that you have a gap,
Yep.
and what you need to do to bridge it.
Yeah.
So we'll get there, but that's your growth at the end of the day.
Yep.
And let's see how to go about that. First thing that we have is people. We come across so many people in our walks of
Yeah.
life, right? And everyone comes with a different skill set and a different motivation for different things that they do. You need to identify people that you admire, why you admire them. What is it about them that actually inspires you to be more like them? Take that back with you. Second is, who has been successful at something that you're curious about? Like if someone's able to write a script to work in a very efficient way, I want to know more. I want to know
Yeah.
what they're doing that they're able to get to that result much
Yeah.
faster. And third thing is, you have to always look back and see who was your biggest motivator or the most helpful person that you had to get you there, to get you academically there, or be it a professor or a friend. Who is it that actually moved you along?
Yeah.
People become the most essential part of the channel at this point.
Yeah, and we also see this at Google in terms of the work that we are doing for
Right.
for this program. Maya had done a script in a particular way, but when we had QM join, we were
It
able
has
to
changed,
see
yes.
a different perspective altogether,
Yep.
right?
Absolutely. And it's small things that actually matter.
Yeah.
But at the same time, this is where we acknowledge that different people bring different skill set to the
Yep.
table.
Yeah.
And it's the collision of everything that helps you get to the end at your end goal. The second thing that we have is skills. It's amazing that I feel that no two people will have the exact identical skills. There
Which
will
is great,
always
right?
be a balance. There will always be a way in which someone's better or someone's not that great. But what you need to do at this point is, what skills do you want to learn in the next year? Identify for yourself what would you want to be better at. What are the biggest professional and personal growth opportunities that you have? And end of the day, what energizes you the most? And all of this I want to bring back to the fact that it doesn't have to be all on a professional scale.
Yeah,
I
I
know that
agree.
we have been speaking about it very professionally in terms
Career.
of career and growth, but this all could be something very personal
Yeah.
as well. Like
It should be personal,
it should
right?
be as well. I agree. Like it could be something like, in terms of a personal skill that I would want to develop would be, I genuinely want to get into the habit of going to the gym regularly, and just making
lot
that
of
a
us.
part, making that as a part of my daily life. So, like, what motivates you to get there? Is it the weight loss? Is it the energy? What is it that brings you there? You have to identify that and bring that along with you when you identify these opportunities for you.
Yes.
Talking about opportunities, the third thing that comes is projects. People and skills are definitely two fundamental elements in your plan, but projects are the ones that keeps you in check and gives you a timeline to this plan, right? And one of the biggest thing that comes when you talk about projects is how you're motivated about it. Are you as passionate about it as you know that would make a difference, if that makes sense?
Yep.
Where we're getting at is the fact that if you're not motivated about a project that you're involved in, you're definitely going to drop the ball eventually.
Yeah.
Like you're not going to be able to put in more than what you would normally have if you don't feel that way about a success of a project.
Yep.
Then some things that you have to actually be a little aware of is, are you able to take smart risks that would actually stretch you a bit, but it's also taking you to that uncharted territory, and that it's quite important.
Yeah.
So these are the three main things that actually come to my mind when I think about the next steps
Yeah.
and what you have to do. Again, we really want to emphasize here that all of this is not set in gold. And it's not that if you have one and you don't have the other identified, that you can't get to your goal or you can't get to your project. These are all general guidelines that we can
Right.
give you based on experiences that we have and what we've heard from fellow Googlers around us.
Yeah. Yeah, so these are all great things to really segue on to how we plan to get you there. How are you going to get there to your goals? So this section really is about getting going on the conversation of action, right? And making sure that you're getting to these fundamental goals that you do have in mind. And the way that we want to encourage you to do that is by running small little experiments. We call them dog foods or fish foods.
Right.
Here at Google, you might run a little pilot for a product and see how it's doing and test it amongst different groups
Right.
of people, different environments, different countries. And by testing and also failing, you're able to move along eventually. Right, so this is the graph that Maya showed us earlier, and she talked a little bit more about having the context and the awareness by doing the scan of yourself. But now we're going to talk about how you can keep moving through these experiments. So an idea that I would give you is just to not limit yourself first and foremost, because these experiments can be many things, right? Leveraging your strengths importantly, and it can range from just going for a Google interview, right? Maybe you went for a Google interview, it didn't go the way that you wanted it to go, but then you see, oh, there's Kickstart. Okay, Kickstart's a way that I could develop my skills technically. So maybe I'll give that a shot, right? So then you use that as a tool to continue moving along in your experimental phase. And then you see that you're not really good at certain areas of Kickstart more than others. So then you move back a little bit and then you move forward again once you realize what you are good at and what you want to continue to grow through the platform of Kickstart.
Exactly. That makes sense.
So yeah, these are the type of experiments that we ask you to try, and to not limit yourself, of course, is the most important thing here, because the point of experiments is to fail.
Yep.
Right? You won't know until you try.
Absolutely.
And then
Yep.
try and fail, right?
Yep.
And a lot of our students, see like platforms like Kickstart and might feel intimidated by it, but really it is a developmental opportunity. So a special plug for Kickstart there. All right, so the next task that I want to ask you all to give a try is to build out a career map of where you want to go through these experiments, right? And that would be something similar to this career map. So yeah, if you look at this Android fan student's career map, who goes to the awesome university, obviously, they began as a engineering practicum intern. They would love to become a SWE intern one day, to become a software engineer at Google, go up to a staff software engineer, and then perhaps manage a team more widely across, engineering through that opportunity as well. So the point of mapping something like this is to, again, not limit yourself and your horizons. If your dream one day is to go to the moon, like, I am not one to stop you. Like, I am very excited for you to do that research on our behalf. Like, tell us what is out there, right? So this is an opportunity to think big. And then also identify what are the goals in between these opportunities that will get you to the next level. So
can I check? Is it like, can I do just one, or is
you
it
could
that
do
I have
so
to
many.
do all?
Yeah, so this is actually just to see like what your ideal map journey
okay.
would be. But tomorrow you might say, actually, I just heard about a different opportunity that might be
Perfect.
a better opportunity to
Okay,
get
that
me.
sounds good.
Right?
Yep.
So this again is going to shift, and a tool that we ask you to try using regularly, right?
Okay.
So that you can identify your goals in between. And then this is something that Maya can share a little bit more about.
Okay. Whenever I talk about goals, and this is the most fun thing for me, there's always a short-term goal and a long-term goal. Short-term goals are very important because I feel those are the only ways that you can motivate yourself to keep going to get the big wins at the end of the day. You don't, if you have only long-term goals, that's a very long time for you to be happy in, right? If you think about it.
And you might be unmotivated quite quickly.
Quite often because you won't get the result that you need.
Yeah.
But what is it that you can actually put into a short-term goal and a long-term goal bucket?
Yeah.
This is quite interesting because I feel when I had initially done this exercise, many of my short-term goals actually ended up in the long-term bucket.
Huh.
And then it was actually awareness of my part that no, you have to ask yourself a certain question.
Sure.
A, how long does it take?
Yep.
B, can this be achieved in a shorter time? C, does this actually help you get to that goal that you want to be in the long term?
Yep.
So many of the things that you actually do might actually end up getting you to another place. Like another like excellent one on the screen right now is short-term goals could be attending as many Google interview workshops as possible, attending Google programs to be aware of what's happening at Google, what are the shifts of Google in terms of the roles and the opportunities and changes in their hiring process. The long-term goal, obviously, is to get a job at Google and to see you guys join here with us the next time. But that's a long-term goal, and we're not saying that there's never going to be a time where a long-term goal cannot come back to a short-term goal.
Yeah.
But that's where you have to aim, and that's what you have to reach, go to.
Yeah.
Goals can be of different types, and I know predominantly, again, in this 40 minutes, we're going to be concentrating majorly on a professional goal.
Yeah.
But you can have personal goals, academic, developmental, and professional goals. Everything can be classified into a goal bucket, I feel.
Sure.
And you have to give yourself a win and credit for every goal that you
Correct.
hit.
Yeah.
It's not only the professional ones that you need to give yourself a pat on the back. If you're able to travel to, let's say, 5 countries, and that was one of your goals, that's an excellent achievement. At Google, we actually value people with more than just what they bring professionally to the table.
Course.
So personally, whatever you've done, if you are able to see the joy that it brings in you, we will be able to see that in you, and we look at you as a candidate. And this is where it becomes very important. And if you look at the other goals that we have, developmental is another favorite of mine, where it says learn a new language, become a teaching assistant. It's so interesting. Developmental really is not something that comes to some people naturally.
Yeah.
Like for me to take that step to actually go and get someone and to train them is actually a bit of a challenge. Like I couldn't put that as a short-term goal for myself. So,
but honestly, as her teammate, I can say that she is already doing this not only for herself, but her teammates on a day-to-day basis. And again, you might not know this because of the
blog that
the
we
lens
have.
that we have, right?
Excellent.
Yeah.
But that's how we actually look at it, and there are so many times that we can actually hit these goals, and we have to give ourselves the due credit that we are actually getting these wins along the way, and acknowledging it becomes very important.
Yes.
Okay, the next thing that we have is how we support growth at Google. Google's an amazing environment, and I have to give them this whole due credit that not only do they give opportunities for you to work and excel at, they also give you a lot of opportunities to upskill yourself.
Yes.
We have something called as Grow, which is internally for us, where we are actually allowed to take up courses and improve yourselves into learning either a new language, it could be a new skill that you never had. You could also take up opportunities for 20% projects. And this is one of my favorites because 20% projects actually allows you to concentrate on something that's not a part of your core module. And allows you to explore that set of skills that you might be interested in, but I mean, let's admit it, we probably would never take out time for ourselves because we wouldn't consider it a part professionally more rewarding. And this being a part of our benefits actually gives you that opportunity to explore it for yourself.
Correct.
Real-time feedback is another amazing thing that I feel becomes much easier once you get at Google, because we as general people find it hard to give someone a bad or a need improvement feedback. But at Google, because it's such an open environment, you're actually comfortable going to a person and say, I may not particularly agree with you, but thank you for your insights.
Correct.
We could probably do it this way. And that's that safe environment that we're talking about. They also Google deeply cares about long-term career development for Googlers, and Grow is one of the best tools that we have that helps you get there.
Yeah, so for me personally, I learned AppScript through all the resources that we have at Google.
Amazing.
Yeah, and that took time and investment, and that's when I realized that I do have technical interests at heart. We're going to talk a little bit more about tools, tips and resources to get you a jump start on your career planning as well as getting along in your goals. So the first skill that we want to emphasize that it's really important to approach networking and interviews as as if you're studying for it. And the reason why we call this out is because a lot of us feel like networking can be such a daunting task.
Right.
Right? Like communicating outside of your normal bubble, like what do you even talk about, right? But the more you study about these opportunities and about, who you're going to meet, you feel equipped with that knowledge and more confident, and also show a good branding of yourself, right? So that's the first thing we really want to call out as a tip. Study it. Like it's really important to get yourself started and on the right foot. And yeah, if you want to talk about tracking your opportunities.
So this is one of the best things that I did, I feel, when I was job hunting, and it's absolutely essential if you are in a place where you're a bit unsure about what you want to do and where you want to head. And also sometimes if you've ever been in a place where you've not had a job or you're sincerely looking for a job, you tend to send out a lot of applications in a day. So you need to find a way that you can actually track what is it that you've sold yourself on in this company based on the role, but also you need a way to track it for yourself so you know tomorrow where is it that the call is coming from and what role it was for.
You might lose track of everything.
You might lose track. And for this, we have an excellent resource for this where you can actually track, and it's an application dashboard. Feel free to take a picture of it. You can also change it according to how you find it most relevant to you.
Yep.
I know for a fact that I was never a person to actually have so many tables in life till before this, but this was really helpful for me. But I kind of used it in a little different way. I didn't have application deadline. I had a column for application send date.
Okay.
So I would know exactly by when or how long it's been that I've not heard back, or is this a role that is like a very important role for me, and what have I done extra in terms of what to put my application a bit ahead. And this becomes quite important because as and when you apply to more roles or you see more opportunities that are aligning to your skill set, you kind of need to find a way to be able to go back and track them.
Yes.
Opportunities at Google. Now we've talked about how to track applications, how you should put yourself out there. Google provides a lot of opportunities. One of the main ones is being a software engineer. Google software engineers develop the next generation technologies that change how millions of users connect, explore, and interact with information and one another. They work in small teams and switch teams, and projects are at a fast-paced business grows and evolves almost daily. Every SWE member every software engineer at this time might be actually interviewed for different skill set. So you have to be very aware of what kind of a role are you looking for and applying for. Second thing that I would actually want to point out is user experience engineers, because that's how any product that you sell, the look and feel of it is the most essential to it, right? And our UX engineers are synthesis of design and development. They take Google's most innovative products, concepts, and bring them to life in an effort to push the boundaries of user interactions. And this is actually, it's just the aesthetics and the technical know-how, but it's actually very important to get it right and the get go. Lastly, I would also want to kind of highlight about an associate product manager. This is an amazing role for me because you need to have the technical knowledge over there to be able to sell your product, to know how to push your product in the market. But it's also the know-how of everything else that you need to know to make sure that the product excels in the market. Learning about your market, what works in your product, what doesn't work in your product, how do you tailor that product, and that's what your associate product manager does. And it's usually the product the role that will open up to you once you've been a few years as a SWE or a UX engineer, I would say. How to apply. Our careers page is amazing, and it has all the opportunities that we have at the moment which are open already listed there. Feel free to look around, read as much as you can, because everything that we hire for is actually listed in great details and can be found online. Make sure you upload your latest resume and your transcript so that we can evaluate you holistically. And once you're ready and you feel you're there, even if you don't feel you're there, I would say always hit submit.
And also the opportunities, by reading them, you can do your research about what's required, what skills you should be developing. Right? So that's also a good place to start whether or not you're going to apply today. Right? So be sure to start there. And then that wraps us up from all the things that we talked about today. So, yeah, it was really great to have you all